My name is Mari Johnson. I'm the CEO of the Centre for Digital Business, joining you today from Canberra. I'm really looking forward to sharing my thoughts on healthcare, anytime, anywhere, anybody. I wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on today, the Ngunnawal people, and the traditional custodians of the lands where many are gathered listening to this presentation. I would also like to acknowledge and welcome other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be attending today's event. In the International Year of the Nurse and the Midwife, I'd like to remember my mother Gwen, 60 years a nurse, and for most of that time in geriatric nursing. What can extreme conditions teach us? When assumptions are upended, innovation is catalysed at the edge, belief systems and doctrine are challenged. For decades, we have been talking about the web, digital everything. It used to be that you went online, downloaded an app, but the foundations of the internet are changing. We now have the emergence of the metaverse, where the internet is only just one part of a persistent, shared, connected virtual spaces. My perspective is on the human experience in complex servicing systems and how the human experience is the most critical determinant in service design. But almost no one is talking about the impact of health illiteracy on service design and the impact of health illiteracy on machine learning. What I will share with you today is a perspective on the arc of technology and the convergence of exponential technologies with the rapid emergence of AI-powered, realistic human embodied systems that present untold humanitarian impact, and through co-design can break through the impact of health illiteracy, upending traditional ration servicing models, but also presenting some profound challenges. Ready or not, embodied, democratized systems are here, rapidly changing the dynamics of industries. Nadia was the world's first AI-powered digital human for service delivery, co-designed by people with disability. This was breakthrough innovation driven by human rights, co-design with extreme conditions as the catalyst for innovation. For those of us who perceive the world differently, how we speak, hear, see, physically interact, understand, remember, and comprehend, the structured world of complex, bureaucratic, and health information is an impenetrable barrier to access. Systems that are like people, for me, was the most natural of design processes, and it was driven by people with disability, not by the technology. So I started work on Nadia as a human rights issue, well before any of the technology was brought together. The UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability is remarkable drafting. It calls out the right of freedom of expression and access to information by accepting and facilitating augmentative and alternative communication so that people with disability can receive and impart information and ideas on an equal basis. So Nadia was grounded in human rights, and we used that to prise open design processes that for a long time had effectively excluded people with disability. Nadia is a phenomenal example of co-design, including people with intellectual disability, supported by a university psychology faculty, co-design which revealed insights not otherwise discernible. And here we see a coloured crayon drawing, itself co-designed by people with disability, of the experience they wanted, a face and a simple conversation. We did not start out with a systems design diagram. And at the very beginning, I had discussions with Sir Tim Berners-Lee on the concept of Nadia and to understand his work on the human accessible web. So let's meet Nadia.
This is Nadia, and although she looks like a person, really she's a computer system that uses the latest technology to help you find the information you want. People with a diverse range of disabilities driving innovation and development of a new way that people will interact with computers. Access to information about anything new is vital, but to be able to present it in a very human, conversation-like way is just outstanding for people with a disability. The great thing about dealing with Nadia is that finally, for most of us, it's going to be a level playing field. And for someone with a significant disability, I think that's fantastic. It's almost like we've arrived.
So this most remarkable innovation, the creation by people with disability who have had to navigate the world differently, is progressively benefiting all people, truly universal design. And Nadia was co-designed to be omnichannel or metaverse, meaning that the corpus, which had been co-designed, could support conversational interactions across form factors and different interfaces. And here we see the Nadia brain, that is the corpus, and the dialogue, which had been co-designed by people with disability, enabling conversation interactions with a robot. And in this instance, it was the IBM Pepper robot. And Nadia was also designed to have a presence in an immersive environment, such as Second Life. And the reason for this is immersive gaming environments have been immensely beneficial for social engagement and capacity building. And this has been demonstrated by significant research. People with disability are avid gamers, and this is an environment that they know. They say they can be whoever they want to be and are not judged. And their desire and their idea was to go where they are already comfortable. This would be the NDIS Second Life e-market environment, where Nadia would have a presence, where people with disability could choose to have their own avatars and act as connectors and mentors, helping one another. And this is already happening in the US Veterans Affairs and the Mayo Clinic, using virtual world environments with avatars, providing rehab support, including to veterans who are amputees, veterans suffering from PTSD and their families, and people with other chronic conditions. And we need to be fearless in reimagining healthcare and education. So that this would be a paradigm of bringing services to wherever the people are. So the 2007 statement on the previous slide about looking to the future with online games, that figure is now 3 billion people who are looking to gaming for entertainment, community, and achievement. This arc of exponential technologies, human, realistic, AI-powered embodied systems in virtual environments, these systems are more than entertaining experiences, but mainstream health therapies, servicing platforms, and education environments. Whether the US Army esports team, seen here in green, as a key strategy in recruitment and training, or a borderless world of engagement and global connection for a young man with disability and millions like him. And even in some of the most extreme conditions and challenging health settings, embodied AI-powered virtual humans are being used in healthcare and therapeutic settings. Let's meet Simcoach, a virtual human providing support for veterans with PTSD and their families.
Hi there. The name's William Ford, but you can call me Bill. Welcome to Simcoach.
Hi, Bill. So what's Simcoach?
Simcoach is a safe place for warfighters and their families to talk about the things that are on their minds.
So who are you?
I'm a virtual human, which means that I'm based on the real experiences and personalities of actual warfighters and their families. Anyway, I'm here to listen and I'm here to help. Anything you want to talk about?
Talk to you. How do I do that?
Well, you're doing it right now. Just type in regular English. Anything troubling you?
If there is, why would I want to talk to you about it?
Well, here, I'll tell you what. I made a video that tells you a little bit more. I'm going to pop it up over here on the right. Not all the wounds of war are physical. When you don't dress a wound, it gets worse, doesn't it? Simcoach is here to talk about the issues weighing on your mind. Simcoach was developed by a whole group of docs, computer geeks, experts, and writers to be as helpful as possible. The more the people use it, the better it's getting all the time. Simcoach, a safe place to talk to someone at a time when it's needed most. What would you like to talk about today?
And you'll see the emphasis in that video on co-design, including co-design of the everyday dialogue. And this is critical for both clinical and servicing settings. Simcoach has been clinically evaluated by DARPA, which demonstrated the effectiveness of virtual worlds such as Second Life in the rehabilitation of some pretty challenging conditions, and the effectiveness of avatars supporting knowledge transference and behavioural adaptation of the most disadvantaged people, not only in healthcare settings, but in many other service delivery settings. So given the pace of change, these exponential technologies provide a new paradigm for rethinking what we mean by unmeetable demand. I've spoken a lot today about the patient experience, but an equally important perspective is staff burnout, incredibly important from a humanitarian perspective. A couple of years ago, I wrote about digital humans in healthcare in a chapter in Dr. Lucien Engeland's book, Augmented Healthcare, and there is significant interest in using this innovation to help on this dimension. That is supporting the patient experience as well as scaling the human dimension of the rationed human expertise. So given the unmeetable demand and resource rationing, as a taxpayer, I ask, why do hospitals and providers write their own rehab material? And why is rehab material restricted? And this unmeetable demand in healthcare is driven massively by health illiteracy. A great proportion of the population are health illiterate, 60% of Australians, in fact, interacting in a bureaucratic system, a system that rations access to services and information. The patient experience is a very powerful force, especially in combination with exponential technologies. In 2017, this was our personal story. My husband, an aeronautical engineer, had just undergone his 4th heart surgery, all up 8 cardiac bypass grafts and 4 stents. We were both health illiterate, but we didn't know it. Centralised e-health failed us, but in just a few short years, Apple upended the centralised e-health paradigm, which has been driven by governments for decades. But still, health illiteracy means that even with the phenomenal Apple innovations, more is needed, different thinking, a different way of doing things. Imagine if you could just have a conversation at any time throughout your life to find out anything that you needed to know about cardiac health. And just a couple of years after I wrote the chapter on digital humans in healthcare, we have developed the Digital Human Cardiac Coach and released all the IP onto GitHub, starting a global movement in digital human health coaches. This is the first time that this has been done. And the reason why we did this was that as COVID forced the closure of cardiac rehab globally, we wanted to do the opposite and hit the accelerator. So releasing all the IP onto GitHub removes a major cost to development that has taken us 14 years and catalyzes an ecosystem. So check it out. And here's what the Digital Human Cardiac Coach is about. Imagine being able to interact with rehab lessons and ask questions over and over again at any time. Imagine a conversation with your digital human coach using ordinary words without fear of judgment or stigma that you don't understand. Imagine lifelong support, not just the 6 weeks of rehab. Why was cardiac rehab ever rationed or even the need to stop during COVID? So while there is a great deal of interest in the rapid emergence of these embodied empathetic systems, the real innovation is in the co-design and the development of the corpus. Nothing happens without this. Nadia was able to answer 10,000 questions. The digital human health coach model creates the corpus of content, thousands of questions, synonyms, and guided conversation topics. So from the human experience, we see common themes through the rhythm of the patient journey that only co-design can reveal. Patterns of conversation, 80% common across health domains that can scale to meet the previously unmeetable demand. So we'd love you to be part of the global movement. Check it out. We're planning to run a hackathon in the first half of next year. So who knows, maybe we'll get 100 of these spun out. Last year, 2019, I was faculty at Exponential Medicine in San Diego and presented the digital human cardiac coach work. And shortly afterwards, this announcement was made by Deepak Chopra, the digital human replica of Deepak Chopra. The reason why this is important is to show how quickly this field and these models are evolving. Is this a vanity project? Well, perhaps it could be. But the usual progression is that innovations are taken up by the wealthy and the military, and then quickly become commoditized and mainstream. This is not a deep fake. We'll get to meet one of those shortly. This is a digital replica or clone of a real known person. And as with Nadia and the digital human cardiac coach, digital Deepak is a personalized coach, not a video, being built on a corpus of the real life Deepak's lifelong conversations, creating a business model of immortalized Deepak conversations. So we see that AI-powered digital humans opens up completely new paradigms in healthcare. And what does digital immortality have to do with healthcare? Everything, as it turns out. Digital immortality is a humanitarian concept, not an archival concept. The preservation of icons, whether Star Wars characters or Deepak Chopra, not just their faces, but their memories, their experiences, their conversations. These are already digitally documented and can be brought to life, not just in video, but in natural, interactive conversations. Digital immortality extends conversations, including healthcare conversations, across lifetimes for everyone. This is not science fiction, and the digital human cardiac coach is the first to be open sourced on GitHub. So the immortality economy is becoming a massive factor in Hollywood and film production and recording. Imagine never having to say farewell. Digital Elton and digital Mick, these are not videos, but digital human replicas of the real people, meaning that they can be made to perform songs which are not even created yet and performed long after they have died. So movies can be recreated to have possibly endless sequels with the same characters and same actors even after their death. A franchise built on immortality. And here's a potentially darker side of what I've been talking about. This is a deep fake of Richard Nixon giving a speech that was written but never actually given. A speech in the event that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin die on the moon. This posthumous deep fake documentary was created by MIT using recordings of Nixon's many televised performances and an actor reading the speech and then using conversion technologies to synthesize Nixon delivering the speech from the actor's performance. So my question to everyone is, are deep fakes always bad? For example, deep fake speech synthesis, as used here, is used to help cancer patients preserve their voice so that as their condition deteriorates, they can still communicate with their own voice to their families, retaining an important element of their own identity. So we need to be alert to both the humanitarian as well as the dystopian at the same time. And so we see an almighty battle emerging on the horizon of this arc of technologies: image capture, digital human generation, facial recognition. What is the authentic human face, or a deep fake impersonation, whether of a real human or an authentic copyrighted replica? These are evolving concepts of identity and authenticity and brand. Many believe that Facebook is no longer managed by a collection of humans. It is a virtual organism run by algorithms. And as RoboDebt has worryingly demonstrated, even the government does not have the capability to manage the impact of its own algorithms. So it's important to be alert to and understand the battle on this horizon. And as citizens, we need to protect the opportunities, even from the overreach of government. And these exponential technologies democratize creativity with untold benefits for healthcare. Things being not only disrupted, but being made irrelevant. Here is a teenager in Melbourne doing CGI avatar creation, computer-generated imagery, running a virtual model agency. He used the lockdown period to work on his skills in CGI. Lots to think about here if a teenager can refine his skills during lockdown, years ahead of going to uni, if that is even relevant. He's worked with Mercedes-Benz during Fashion Week in Russia, creating a virtual catwalk that was shared on Vogue, Elle, and Harper's Bazaar. So the synthetic media democratizes creativity. Virtual influencers are booming, earning tens of millions of dollars, hugely influential. Influential in fashion, influential in health, and influential in democratic processes. And just a few weeks ago, Dementia Australia introduced TED, the avatar co-designed to help professional carers communicate with people living with disability and dementia. So extreme conditions are yet again the catalyst for breakthrough innovation. So I think we can all welcome TED. In wrapping up, I would like to advocate that we think about ethics differently. In this Copernican moment, the impact and intersection of trust, technology, and democracy has created a phase change. If we think about ethics from the perspective of opportunity, that helps how we might seize the benefits for society to better comprehend and push the boundaries of human agency for servicing anytime, anywhere, anybody for a lifetime, not just in sickness, so that society is not weakened by a dystopian fear or controlled by ignorance. Trust cannot be patriarchal, controlling, or controllable, or demanded. When we talk about anytime, anywhere, anybody, what we are really talking about is human agency. And human agency is understood through co-design, timeless and borderless models made possible by the convergence of exponential technologies, unlocking human potential, breaking through the systemic discrimination of health illiteracy, breaking through the horizons of servicing, now unbounded by the paradigm of industrial rationing. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the conference.